Hey, hello. Welcome to a first voice tutorial from my side. Most of the videos that I've been posting so far have been really, just me drawing, really no voice. So let's see how this one goes. And I think for today we're gonna cover a little bit, and apologies for my creaking chair, but yeah, for today we're going to look a bit into drawing the head. I think that's going to be our first thing. We're going to be drawing the head, then we might look a bit into the torso, and then we can then from there maybe draw some clothes. So let's start. Of course, apologies if the audio is not the best. Yeah, let's start. So for starters, the brush pen already has too much ink. It's so I need another one that has a little bit less ink, so I can start. Okay, there's no black pens here. Do I have a black pen? Okay, so as for the head, I think the easiest way to start to approach how to draw the head really is, okay, can you draw a rectangle? I think you should be able to draw a rectangle, right? This really is our, let's say, our starting point, the rectangle. Ideally, you should be able to draw this. I think this is the best starting point really for any drawing. And for your, let's say, your development as an artist is really being able to draw, these geometric shapes. The rectangle, I think it's and the square, of course. Draw these, because the thing is that you're gonna want to take these and make them 3D. Like so. So this is more of a how to draw 101 before we even start with the head. Yeah, just ideally you should, and if you are not yet able, you can practice how to draw a rectangle. And then from there, you can, take it to different angles and make it 3D. And I really need to switch my chair because it's very creaky. So I do apologize for that. Yeah, so ideally you should be, as you improve your drawing, you should be able to, just start with the basics. First, you really want to master, okay, can I draw? Oh, sorry, I cannot draw. Can you draw the square? And then from there, okay, can I draw a rectangle? Okay. Are you able to, go from this to this? Okay. And then from there, okay, can you perhaps draw, a tube cone, let's say? Because if you think about it, for the human body, it is like a bunch of tubes, all connected, and rectangles. And of course, it helps if you start to think about things in 3D. So you go from here, and then you start thinking, okay, how is it that these objects interact in a 3D space? How are they, three-dimensional? Can I build things with them? I think it's very much the whole thing of the that you sometimes you read about, you know, the draw a box process. It's not that I ever drew thousands of boxes. It definitely does help for, you know, for you to, you know, master perspective. But I think you should really just focus on, you know, I want to get, you know, a simple drawing of the human body. Can I get from, you know, this to this, then to this, then can I start doing, you know, 3D shapes? And eventually what you will want to do is also the circle. It doesn't need to be perfect because I'm not doing a perfect circle. And then also understand that the circle itself is 3D, like the sphere. So really, you know, focus going from basic shapes to slowly, you know, being able to draw, you know, everything that you learned in school, the 3D objects. I do apologize for sometimes the crooked lines that you see. I'm actually drawing on an easel, so it's inclined. I'm much more accustomed to drawing on a flat surface, but this is good for my hand and also for the light setup that I have here. So here, you're gonna do here. And one thing that also helps is that you start to see, especially things that are in 3D, that you are able to visualize the contour. What I mean by contour, it's like this line here. So for example, this is the contour of the circle. Because the object has a shape to it, you know, same thing from here. If you were to like place a sticker, let's say I want to place a cool sticker here of my cat. You know, the sticker would accompany the shape. Maybe not the best example, but you know, it would accompany the shape of the barrel in this case. Same thing from here. Let's say you were to put a, I don't know, let's say some, Jesus, should have rehearsed this. Let's say you want to put like a sticker of a square or rectangle. The sticker would accompany naturally the shape of the circle. Like yeah, like this, essentially. So the object would accompany you. Why is this important? Because you want to get to a point where you can combine all of these, you know, take all of these basic shapes and you are able to then, Jesus, you know, even this arrow can be 3D, but the point of mastering all of these shapes, and I'm not saying I'm a master in these shapes, far from it, but eventually you want to be able to combine all of these shapes and, you know, just sorry. Yeah, you would want to, you know, be able to combine, you know, you have. So I made it a bit more pronounced, so I'll explain some shapes, but you would be able, you know, to combine all of this, I mean, all of these shapes into, you know, like a head. And here I made a mistake. The noise distracted me. That's what I say when I make mistakes. Because what is this head, in a way? This head is a mix, right, of the multiple shapes that we have here. And when I say head, of course, I will also refer to the body, because this, you if we think about it very coldly, we could simply think of it as, okay, this is a sideways rectangle. Right? This is a sideways rectangle. If the person would be looking in front of you, it would, be another rectangle. But yeah, this is essentially a sideways rectangle. If you think about it, okay, then you also start to see, okay, there's a bit of a circle here. There's some circle action going on here, right? Oh, there's a triangle here, for the nose. Okay, the eyes. Also a circle. The mouth is, an interplay of more complex shapes. So, but for the time being, let's say, okay, it's like 2 triangles. Then for the chin, another triangle. Yeah, let's assume that the ear, let's not assume it is actually the truth. Let's assume that the ear is actually another circle. 2, 2. And, the circle goes here, then you have the neck. But yeah, this that you see here is actually this. It's a combination of a circle with a couple of triangles here for the mouth, and then the rectangle. Because it intersects, you have this. Yeah, and then you start thinking, okay, but how do I take it to 3D? Of course, then you start thinking and start seeing, oh, there's a contour line. Of course, the head has a lot of contour shapes. It's more complex than that. And plus, you might want to go for a more, anime style that's a bit more simple, but still complex, because you got to be able to, to just master, the shapes, to be able to, draw, appealing shapes. Yeah, it can be hard sometimes to talk, but you really want to master these before you are able to, to just draw faces and even bodies confidently. It doesn't mean that you should only focus on this. Far from it. Far from it. Actually try to do as much as you can of this. Just look at people, draw their faces, and then you analyze, coldly what it is that perhaps you're doing correctly. I do it all the time. It's not because I'm doing a video that, I've somehow mastered all of this. I think everyone on the internet draws better than me. But yeah, what you want to be able to do is, in your practice routine, you have this, you also have this, you have the human body, okay, maybe also focusing a bit on hair, and you take it all together. Don't just study subjects in isolation, because when you are drawing, right, when you are actually drawing, for yourself or for a commission, you are asked to combine multiple concepts into one. You are asked to combine this, with your line control, pressure on the pen, color choice as well. So in my case, I actually don't color my drawings a whole lot, but your style, you might color them. It's really, you want to be able to combine everything. So don't just get, gang up and on just, hey, I can draw like the best rectangles in town. I do the 1,000 boxes exercise a whole lot, because when it comes time to, okay, now you need to actually draw a face. How do you do it, right? And drawing from imagination, at least the face will also help you, when it's time to draw an actual subject. Myself, I don't always draw from imagination, far from it. I do use, reference quite a bit, but being able to draw also from imagination will allow you to take, perhaps something that you're drawing based on the reference and also infuse a bit of your own personal touch and into the drawing. But yeah, let's continue. So I have more paper here. So this is actually a big sheet of paper. So now let's take two rectangles. Let's take two rectangles, right? So I have here two rectangles. This will be my starting point for my face, let's say. And then if you wanna, visualize, even better, you can also, of course, draw the tube for the neck. So yeah, you have your neck. And right here you can see, okay, we are combining the rectangle with what is essentially another rectangle, right? So now that we have this, I really don't like to, how do I explain it? I really don't like to, divide it. Oh, we have this line and then this, and it's very neat and proper. I really don't like that very metric approach. I much prefer to employ the lines, the lines approach, and everything has to be very neatly. I prefer whenever I'm drawing buildings, and some people do prefer to draw buildings with a bit of more of a crooked line and more of a freestyle approach. For some reason I do prefer to draw them with more of the straight line, and then you have your vanishing points is wherever. But for the face, I do try to keep it a bit more organic, because everyone has a different face. You're gonna have all kinds of faces, shapes, and sizes, and with that, I think you're kind of might be limiting yourself a bit by just being able to draw the perfect model face. Everyone has a different shape of the face. But yeah, getting back to the grind, you have your rectangles here. We're still just going to employ some quick measurements, but essentially you have the middle part. I think that goes without saying. That's going to be where you're going to be placing the middle part of the mouth, and then of course the nose. So yeah, for example, let's say you have this, and don't get too ganged up on measurements, but essentially you're gonna chop a triangle from here, right? You're gonna do this. And depending on how aggressive you are with chopping this rectangle, you can have a bigger face because you have this part here, or you can have more of a more defined jawline, let's say. So I chop this, right, and then this line is gonna follow more or less the box. One thing is you gotta then be able to combine like a circle just for the ears. And essentially, let's put the ears just as a measurement, in the middle of the line. Might look wonky, but let's see. So you have the ears, and then let's go the rest of the cranium. So you have this. And then, of course, you're gonna connect to the neck. Some shadows here because the neck does cast a shadow. And then, this. So we have our starting phase. You see, it's not that hard to actually start from a place where you're drawing a face, right? And then for the eyes, and I actually accidentally put too much ink on the pen. Now for the eyes, let's say, okay, you have you here, right? And you have this line to guide you from the middle part. You can actually start, just from here. And then how you're gonna draw the lines, it depends on your personal style. You might want to be able to do them in a more realistic style. Maybe you're into, you really want to draw like the big eyes and you like anime, and apologies, maybe I don't know how to draw, big eyes, but maybe you want some anime eyes, big, more expressive. Maybe you want to go for a simple route. You just want to draw like a dot for the eyes. Maybe you want to draw a dot, but with a bit of a glimmer to it, And then there's so much possibilities on how you approach, drawing the eye. You can go, just this, which is actually a very complex shape to do, fully defined. Then you can add the. There are multiple ways to draw the eye. It really depends on how you like to do it. I go for semi-realistic. It's not fully realistic, but there's much more realistic. But yeah, let's say I have start here, my drawing point. So I draw them semi-realistic. So I might consider, for example, the upper eyelid. And then, of course, I'm going to draw the eyeball. Cool. Now for the nose. The nose, essentially, you're going to take, this middle part here, more or less. It depends. Again, there might be people who have the nose more here. There might be people who have the nose more here. It depends. It really depends on the face that you're trying to draw. Experiment, see what works. See what is it that you like. If you draw, in a way that you like to see what you're doing, then that's the accomplishment. But yeah, let's continue. So I forgot to draw the eyebrows. Of course, the eyebrows can convey, multiple feelings just by themselves, but experiment again, like I said. So here for the nose, essentially you're gonna think like a triangle. You have a triangle here, right? It's actually a bit more pronounced. It goes like here, because then you would have like the shadows here. But yeah, you have here the nose. And then below that you have a simple line, right? And then the lips. And again, depending on how you style you want to go, you can, mix and match. And, of course, the face can convey multiple feelings, so many options. You really want to be able to combine everything that you do into a single coherent shape and try to see if you can, share feelings when you're drawing the faces. Maybe they're smiling, maybe just, passerbys looking, Sorry, my cat was distracting me. So let's say if we were to draw this face without the guidance, of course it could be something like this. Then for the hair, again, you're gonna be able to think in 3D. That's the main thing. You want to be able to think in 3D. And by 3D, what I mean is, let's say it has like a spiky style of hair. By spiky, what you will have is essentially a whole bunch of triangles, right? Covering his face. Essentially, you start from this shape, from the triangle. Maybe he's bald. You know, there's a lot of options for hair. Maybe, you know, it has big hair. It has, you know, it has, I don't know, how different style of mohawk. Maybe he has a mohawk. You know, you gotta experiment here and see what works for you. For the face sideways, you will want to essentially increase the square. It's going to be more of a square than a rectangle here. You also wanted to split it up essentially into two. This will be important as well because the sideways is more complex, I do have to say. How do I even explain it? So you're gonna split it up, right, like we did before. Because this part right over here, it's gonna be the back of the head. Because it's a big circle as well. But the circle goes inside the line, unlike here. Nope. And then we have to imagine this line that we did here. It also exists here, right? And here it's a more complex interplay of shapes that you really, for this one, the only advice I can give you really is try to draw as many faces sideways and different angles as possible, because I think that every single tutorial that, you know, exists goes over this one very easy, because it is a very easy shape, but they, how do I put it? They, it's simply put, it's a very complex interplay of shapes to explain. What you really want to do is look at many faces sideways and try to memorize it as best as you can, because there comes a time where it just clicks, you know. But maybe crappy advice, because, you know, maybe there's someone that can explain this very well. You see, you have like here this part, which is the this triangle where the eyebrow kind of exists. And then, like I said before, you have a set of triangles. And this line right over here, it's where, you know, the line could be a bit more to the right. The thing with drawing with construction lines that eventually it's, for me, they actually hinder more than help. But yeah, you're gonna have the here more or less starting at the construction line. This is the part where also the skull also exists. I haven't memorized the skull. What I know is from university, from my background in science, but I haven't memorized the skull. Some people have memorized the skull. You can. I think you can, you know, just look a couple of, you know, anatomical models of the skull to have an idea of how the skull is structured. But yeah, sideways face, it's a bit more complex. Let's continue perhaps